In the yesteryears of centuries ago, in a small portion of this vast world of ours, there lived a people called the children of Israel. From them came certain men and women through whom God revealed himself to all mankind. One of these was Solomon, a man of wisdom. David, king of Israel, had ruled for many years, and God had blessed him with great honor and riches. But now that he had grown old, it was time for someone else to take over the throne. One of David's sons, Adonijah, was so eager for power that he had already tried to make himself king. When David learned of this through his wife Bathsheba and through Nathan the prophet, he knew the time had come to name the next king.
As the Lord lives, and as I promised you when I said, Solomon your son will be king after me, that is what I will do this very day. Take my servants with you. Have Solomon my son ride on my own mule. Bring him down to Gihon. There let Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet anoint him king over Israel.
And so Solomon, David's younger son, was anointed king of all Israel. And all the people rejoiced, blowing horns and shouting, "Long live King Solomon!" With his son safely on the throne, David was content and ready to die. But first he called together the elders of Israel and his nobles and officers, in order to speak of a fond dream of his, a dream of many years.
I had planned to build a temple where the Ark of the Covenant could rest. And I had prepared to build it. But God said to me, "You may not build a house for my name, for you are a warrior and have shed blood." He said, "It is your son Solomon who will build a house for my name. And you, Solomon, my son, learn to know the God of your father, and to serve him with your whole heart and with a willing mind. For the Lord searches all hearts and understands all that we think and plan. And if you search for him, he will let you find him. But if you forsake him, he will reject you forever. Be careful then. The Lord has chosen you to build a temple. Be strong and do it."
Then David gave Solomon the plans which had been drawn up for the temple at Jerusalem. And Solomon faithfully promised to carry out these plans. And out of his own treasures, David gave great sums of gold and silver for the building of the temple. Following his example, the people also gave gifts for the temple. And David rejoiced that his greatest wish would soon come true.
Lord, give my son Solomon a loyal heart, so that he will live according to your word and will build a temple for which I have made preparations.
So the reign of King Solomon began. Solomon loved the Lord and obeyed his commandments, as David had. and he arranged a great sacrifice at Gibeon in order to ask God's blessing upon his reign. That night, while Solomon was sleeping, God spoke to him in a dream, saying, "Tell me what I should give you." Instead of asking for great honors, riches, and power, Solomon begged the Lord,
"Lord, you made me king in place of my father, even though I'm still very young. Who can rule over this great nation without your help? Give me, therefore, wisdom and understanding to rule over your people, that I may know the difference between good and evil."
God was so pleased with Solomon's request that he promised to give him not only the wisdom for which he had asked, but also riches and honor and a long life. True to his word, God blessed Solomon with wisdom. A test of that wisdom soon came when two women appeared before the king. Both women lived in the same house, and each had had a son. But one son had died during the night, and now both mothers claimed the child who was still living. It was a puzzling problem, but Solomon knew at once what to do.
Bring me a sword. Divide the living child in two, giving half to the one and half to the other.
Oh, my lord, give her the child, but by no means kill it.
Let it be neither mine nor yours. Divide it.
Give the living child to the first woman. She is the mother.
When the people heard how the king had decided the case, they respected him, realizing that God had given him great wisdom. Solomon's wisdom was truly remarkable. Wiser than all other people of his day, he spoke many proverbs, words of eternal wisdom which came from God and have continued down to this present time.
Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And with all you're getting, get understanding. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not depend on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord, and turn away from evil.
But his fame and good fortune did not cause Solomon to forget the promise he had made to his father. And now that there was peace in the land of Israel, his thoughts turned to building the temple. His first step was to send word to the king of Tyre, a friend who could supply lumber from the cedar trees of Lebanon.
I am planning to build a temple to the glory of the Lord, my God, who said to my father David, "Your son, whom I will place on your throne after you, shall build a house in my honor." Now then, order your men to cut down cedars of Lebanon for me, and my servants will help, and I will pay you for your service.
Solomon was confident that Hiram, king of Tyre, who had been his father's friend, would grant his request, and that the building of the temple would soon begin. There was much work to be done. Trees had to be cut and floated down the Mediterranean coast to a place where they were cut into boards. Stones had to be cut for the foundation of the temple. Solomon ordered that all stones must be cut to size before they were brought to Jerusalem. For 7 years, the work went on, and Solomon himself directed the building of the temple to make sure that everything would be as his father had planned it, even to the carvings on the walls of the temple, and the vessels of gold to be used in the temple. When everything was finished, the Ark of the Covenant was brought into the temple, with King Solomon and the people going before it. Priests and the Levites followed, and all the people sang praises to God because the great temple was at last completed. After the Ark of the Covenant had been put in its place inside the temple, the glory of the Lord as a cloud filled the temple, and Solomon, standing before all the people, dedicated the temple with a solemn prayer.
O Lord God of Israel, there is no God like you in heaven above or on the earth below. You are keeping your covenant and showing mercy to your servants who walk before you with all their heart. But can we be certain that God will dwell on the earth? Yes, the heavens of heavens cannot hold you. How much less this temple which I have built?
Solomon was stating a great truth, that God's presence filled all things, for God is everywhere. Nevertheless, Solomon asked God to make the temple his dwelling place, and to hear the prayer of everyone who would pray there for forgiveness. And when Solomon had ended his prayer, he spoke to the people.
Blessed be the Lord who has given rest to his people Israel. Not one word of all his good promises has failed. The Lord our God be with us as he was with our fathers. May he not leave us and forsake us, but fill our hearts with love for him, that we may walk in his ways and keep his commandments.
And when Solomon had finished blessing the people, they offered many sacrifices. They celebrated 14 days, happy that the Lord had been so good to his people. The years passed, and King Solomon's fame spread, even as far as Sheba in Arabia. The Queen of Sheba decided to find out for herself if this king of Israel was as wise as people believed him to be. And so she came 1,400 miles to visit him. When the queen arrived at Solomon's palace and saw the beautiful temple and heard the king's answers to all her questions, she was convinced that Solomon's wisdom and riches were even greater than she had heard.
Blessed be the Lord your God, who is pleased with you and has set you on the throne of Israel. Because the Lord loved Israel, he has made you king, that you may do what is just and right.
And so it was that a visitor from a far-off land saw that Solomon's great wisdom was due to the blessing of the Lord God. Solomon was happy as long as he walked in the ways of the Lord. But there came a time in his later years when he turned away from the Lord, his God, and he made agreements with foreign rulers who did not worship the one true God. He even married their daughters and had many wives. And these heathen wives persuaded Solomon to set up altars for their idols. This angered the Lord, and finally brought God's punishment upon Solomon and his people. And so the words which God had spoken through Moses, the first leader of Israel, came true. Today I am laying before you a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you do what I tell you, but a curse if you will not listen to the Lord your God.